looking at our third way to look at this material on employees. And I call this section the Pearls of Wisdom section. I've taken statements directly out of the book that I feel have very good relevance to your test. And we are going to go over those statements, and I'm going to read them to you, and you are going to read them off the screen, listen to my voice, and read. You're going to get them two different ways. And then if there's something that's difficult about the statement, I will explain it to you. And we will go through every one of these pearls. Here is your best study guide. If you get the opportunity to study for a while before you take your test, study the pearls. If a worker quits and walks away from a job site, their final paycheck is due within 5 working days. The prevailing wage rate is central to the Little Davis-Bacon Act. Okay, remember we have the federal Davis-Bacon Act setting all the wages for floor covering installers, finish carpenters, all throughout the country. Then we have the Oregon Little Davis-Bacon Act setting the rules, setting the prevailing wage for trades in Oregon. There's some modification to it. It's generally very close to the feds. The Bureau of Labor and Industry, that's BOLI, they're also called the Wage and Hour Division. They have jurisdiction over the Oregon wage and hour disputes. The U.S. Department of Labor requires the postings of labor and wage information at a place of work. Okay, you've started your payroll and you're rocking and rolling, and in the mail you get a large poster. It's from the U.S. Department of Labor. It's not from the state of Oregon. It's from the U.S. Department of Labor. And on it, it says you must post this in a conspicuous place in your workplace. And on it, it has labor and wage information for your employees. And it must be posted in a place where they gather so they can take a look at it. I'm mentioning this again because I've heard a number of times that people who have only subcontractors, they don't have employees yet, have gotten the posters in the mail with a bill and were asked to pay $80 or $90 for this poster. Number one, if you have only subcontractors and no employees, you do not need the U.S. Department of Labor poster. And when you start your payroll, the U.S. Department of Labor will send it to you for free. So please don't buy a poster when you start out with subcontractors only. The deadline for an employer to have the minimum wage adjusted for inflation is September 30th. Okay, this is the factoid. If there is going to be an adjustment for inflation in January of next year, I need to post what that will be to the minimum wage. That adjustment to the minimum wage will be by September 30th in my workplace. The Oregon Workers' Compensation Insurance Plan, or also referred to as the Assigned Risk Plan, is a program for employers who have been denied coverage by private carriers. A payroll deduction is not permitted by law for losses when a supervisor was the sole responsible party. Okay, let me go back. I want to use one of these. I'm going to show you something about these statements. I am looking at if a worker quits and walks away from a job site, their final paycheck is due within 5 working days. So I might say to myself, well, what kind of question would possibly come out of that? Well, what if they ask me, How many days do you have to pay a final paycheck to a worker who quits and walks away from a job site? Answer: 5 working days. So when you study the pearls, look at them and ask yourself, what kinds of questions could possibly come out of this statement? And what might the answers be? And that's a very effective way to study the pearls.